Hey y'all, I just posted a video eh, about nobody stands up for the Black woman, basically, is what happened. And I didn't think that it was gonna bother me the way that it is. But a man invited me outside to fight me, and no man stepped up to say anything. I'm confused. I'm confused. So confused. And I don't even understand why I'm upset about it. Why am I crying? Why? It's just, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I saw this video come across my feed. This has been a common complaint that Black women are the least protected, and more specifically, that Black men don't protect Black women. So I don't know what's going on. We don't understand the context at all. All we know is that she's gone in her car and is crying that a man asked her outside to fight her. We don't know why. We don't know if she got an altercation. We don't know if she initiated, we don't know anything. We just know that she's in her car crying that random men didn't come up and try to protect her from a man who asked to fight her. So obviously she's very broken up about it, and she's also very confused as to why there were not men who were going in trying to protect her. And this brings up issues that I have talked about for quite some time now on how the downside of feminism, or the downside of attempting to create a society in which men and women are created equal, is the reality when men and women are actually created equal. Put another way, when women are not given special treatment, when they are treated exactly the way men are in all capacities. And in this situation, it came to threat of violence or a dispute, and how she wasn't given special treatment. There weren't people running to her rescue because she's a woman. There weren't people trying to calm the tensions and say, hey, this is a woman, you're a man. No, we're in a society that for decades now, men have gotten the message that there needs to be equality. There needs to be parity. Women need to have more access. Women can do anything that men can do. Think of the amount of movies that we've seen where there is a female superhero, or there is a small feminine looking woman who is fighting. She's put in these more aggressive scenes, these more aggressive scenarios, and she's taking a man out. She's punching him down. She's kicking him. She's overpowering him. She's outsmarting him. There are so many action-packed movies, just movies in general, where we see women outwitting men, outpacing, outbeating, outcompeting, beating up men. And basically these feminine, small, petite women who are doing this. So what I'm trying to articulate is that we've had a society that's kind of cultivated this idea, and these conversations are on trying to create equality and parity. But I think the issue is we weren't necessarily prepared for what that meant and what that means when women and men are treated equal in all capacities. And that can be very scary, because there are jobs and there are things and there are scenarios that men are in that they're very used to having to deal with, having to navigate, that women just have not been prepared for. Women have been protected from, or have not had to deal with. And so I know she's crying, and I don't want to minimize the severity of the situation. It sounds like he was very obviously traumatizing her, so much so that she's on TikTok crying about it. But I think this is just a prime example of men and women are not the same. I can't think of a man who would have another man say, let's go take it outside and fight, and then he's going to go in the car and cry and tell everyone, why didn't you protect me? Men don't do that. Women do that. And that is a prime example on how men and women are not the same. And this has been my gripe with the toxic feminism, toxic radical feminism, that tries to blur the genders, or that tries to act like, men and women can do all the same things. They need to have equal representation. They need to have equal and parity. That's my gripe with it, because I'm like, we're not. And it's situations like this that show the entire world that we aren't, and we actually don't want to be. I've said this before. Women don't want equal representation everywhere. They don't want equal representation in the prison system. They don't want equal representation as far as police homicides. They don't want equal representation as far as homelessness. They don't want equal representation in these jobs, these really hard, arduous jobs that are dirty, sanitation, water treatment centers, and a sewage, janitors. construction worker, working in the oil rigs, like dangerous stuff. Women don't want equal representation in those jobs. And there are things where women want men to be men. Military, God forbid, in a threat of war. When there is a threat of violence, every single radical feminist, I don't care how, card-carrying feminist, whatever, you want somebody to sit there and protect you. You want to know that you're going to be safe. You want to run somewhere and have someone else take care of that. Most women, I'm sure there's going to be a few who want to take off the She-Ra card, right? But most women, in the threat of violence, want to be protected and want to know that there's going to be someone, ideally a man, that's going to do that for them, or would at least appreciate it, even if they don't say it, would at least appreciate if a man was to step in and provide protection. And unfortunately, we don't really live in an environment where that kind of dynamic has been cultivated. And it sounds like she's confused, but this is feminism. This is what's going on. And I'm not going to say this is just a Black woman thing. I don't know that I believe that if she was an older white woman, or context does matter. There are so many different elements about the story that we don't know. So it's hard for me to really make a full decision. But what I'm saying is that there are white women who have come online and complained about similar things. Not getting help at the gym, not getting help carrying luggage, whatever. So I don't think this is just a Black woman thing. She's Black, so she's going to talk about it from her vantage point, but there's other races of women who have equally complained about this, and this is a result of a Western society of feminism.
Okay, here we go. TikTok. This is my problem. Gary here decided to tell me that let me read it. It says, "I know you're hurt. We can see that. But read back to yourself what your response was to me just now and what led up to this. I don't want to know that. Strong, independent Black women, you can't have it both ways," is what the whole message says. The point I'm making is Black women are the most disrespected people. Let me say it again. Black women are the most disrespected people. And it felt like it was so commonplace that it was allowed. I didn't call this man outside of his name, and I still refer to him as a man who invited me outside to fight me. Don't get it twisted. I am well protected. I am not an independent Black woman. I am married. I have 2 grown Black sons. I grew up in an era where if you spoke ill to any women in our neighborhood, the men stepped in and said, "Say that to me. That's a woman you're talking to." Where is that part gone? There are more gay men standing up for women, period. Where is the respect to the Black woman? Why is it so okay for them to talk to me like that? So Gary, that's not cool. I can be strong and independent and still want to be protected because regardless, I am a woman. I never said I was equal to a man because I'm not. I'm not a man. I am a woman.
Okay, so again, without knowing the full context, it's really hard to come to an assessment of knowing like, oh, this just happened because she was a Black woman. I can understand her frustration. It obviously sounds like she's very emotional about this. Probably sounds like this is very triggering, and maybe perhaps this is connected to just previous things of feeling unprotected or just not on the same par of other races of women. So, and I understand it's a real thing, so I don't want to minimize that. Just what I'm trying to articulate is that this is a problem that is just not impacting Black women. It's not like Black women are just out here getting treated any old kind of way. So I'm not going to downplay that. That is real. Another problem, though, that we forget is that while Black women are definitely can be disrespected, Black women are also incredibly disrespectful. It's like Black women can be incredibly disrespectful. The other big problem is all it takes is a few, but there are so many countless examples of Black women being hyper aggressive. And I mean aggressive against authority, against police officers, against managers, against people at the airports. There have been so many examples of Black women themselves being disrespectful in public to other people, being aggressive, hitting people, throwing things. And so unfortunately, the Black woman herself has a reputation as well as being disrespectful, as being the aggressor, as being someone who can hold her own and throw punches, because we oftentimes see Black women doing just that. So there's so much nuance to it. It's not just Black men are folding their hands and just sitting back and not wanting to help Black women and not being good men anymore. Like, sometimes I feel like these messages can end up being a reason to shame and be punitive to Black men. And then just what I'm trying to articulate is that there's so much more to this. This is a result of societal changes that actually is impacting all women, because, by the way, many women are complaining about this. Yeah, the racism does play a part. I'm not going to act like racism has always been a part, and to a certain extent, Black women have always kind of been seen or treated as othered compared to other races. Like, so I understand that does play a role, but also that's not the only role. Also, we can't forget the fact that there's a lot of negative perspectives about Black femininity right now that are actually instigated by Black women. It's not always racism. It's not always misogynoir. It's not always, oh, this happened to me because I'm a Black woman, or because I'm this, or because it's not always that. Sometimes it is the result of this culture. I don't even know the full context. Sometimes it's just like, if you're disrespectful, it don't matter if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're Asian, if you're Latina, if you're disrespectful, then a person's going to step to you with the disrespect that you gave. And you have dudes out there today who were like, in the spirit of all things equal, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, if you threaten me in any particular way, I'm going to step up to you with violence. Like, there's some guys who have that mindset. So kind of gone are the days of like chivalry, and gone are the days of your women are treated this way, men are treated that way. That's the fabric that's in the community. Like, that was dismantled really nationwide, and then particularly in the Black community, when we understand what happened to the No Man in the House clause, we understand what happened after the civil rights movement, particularly with feminism and just the divide that's created. And then you talk about the crack era, and just all these Black men were systematically removed from households on top of narratives that were really misandrist. Then you wouldn't be asking these questions. You would understand that there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's not always just because people hate you because you're a Black woman. It's not always just that. It's not always just that. So this is a really interesting video. I'm curious what you guys think about this whole scenario. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.